You've probably had a moment where you tried to make a careful point, and the reply you received wasn't to your point at all. It was to a simpler version of it, a version you never said. Maybe you suggested a small change and someone responded as if you wanted to overhaul everything. Or you raised a narrow concern and suddenly you were treated as if you opposed the entire idea. The strange part is how quickly that substitution feels like a real disagreement. Something true gets replaced with something easier to reject, and the conversation proceeds as if nothing changed. A strawman is exactly that substitution. It's when a weaker or distorted version of an argument is attacked instead of the argument itself. It's when complexity gets rewritten into simplicity, but the conclusion pretends the simplification was honest. The danger isn't distortion. It's how convincingly the distortion impersonates relevance. The mind appears to perform this shift because it prefers frictionless evaluation. A precise argument has nuance, boundary conditions, and trade-offs that require careful attention. A simplified argument has none of these burdens. So when the cognitive load rises, the mind quietly swaps the difficult version for a more digestible one. The trick is internal. The substitution doesn't feel like a substitution. It feels like clarity. And clarity, even false clarity, feels like progress. Picture offering a modest proposal. Maybe we should double check the numbers. The reply comes back, so you don't trust the team at all. The original claim never touched trust. Your distrust is easier to refute than uncertainty. Or consider a discussion about risk where you say, this part seems unpredictable. It becomes, you think this whole plan is doomed. A tiny shift in framing, and the argument becomes easier to defeat than to engage with. The mechanism is small, ordinary, and almost frictionless. The consequence is a kind of intellectual erosion. When straw men enter the conversation, what breaks is not just accuracy, but the possibility of being understood. Once participants argue against a version of a claim that never existed, the real ideas lose their footing. The misunderstanding multiplies, and soon the discussion feels adversarial when no genuine conflict exists. What collapses here isn't agreement, it's intelligibility. If the simplified version feels easier to handle, the mind quickly forgets the original tension that made the idea worth discussing at all. The strawman doesn't only distort the argument, it distorts the reason that the argument mattered, or the original argument. You think you're responding to what was said, but you're really responding to the version your mind could process fastest, and that version usually isn't the argument that matters at all. Sometimes the mind isn't avoiding the difficult idea, it's avoiding the work required to stay with it long enough to understand it. And that avoidance is exactly where thinking must begin with doubt first. Stay curious.